In this episode of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, when you think performance by a quarterback in a Super Bowl, one of the first ones, if not the first one, that has to come to mind, Phil Simms. Pitched a perfect game, basically. I mean, in the biggest game of his pro football life, he played the most efficient performance ever executed by a quarterback at that level of game. What a performance by Phil Simms. We're going to talk to him about that. We're going to talk to him about getting ready for the Super Bowl. We're going to talk to him about Joe Burrow, about the season the Cincinnati Bengals have had, and so much more. All things NFL. And nobody better to talk to than Phil Simms about anything NFL. Phil and Chris Simms, I tell you, the Simms family, the Collinsworth family, that's the communications family in the National Football League. We're talking NFL royalty. It's going to be fun. Welcome to In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. And it's Super Bowl time, so it's time to talk with an icon, a legend of the National Football League. We are talking Phil Simms, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again. Phil Simms, you are the best, my man.
Well, I don't know if I'm the best, Dave, but I'm just happy to be on with you. It's always a pleasure. You're a great football guy. When I was doing games, you and I had a lot of great conversations just talking about the Bengals, talking about the league, and I miss those talks. And I know you're busy, and I'm running around like crazy, but it's good to catch up with you right now.
And I'll tell you what, your son Chris, I mean, watched him play at Texas, observed his NFL career, what he's doing now in the broadcast world. I mean, the Simms family, you are the first family of communications. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think he's doing well. I actually got up this morning. I always watch his show, and I always have my pad out and the pen and going, okay, if he says something that I really like and don't know, I'm going to, of course, steal it. And then when he says things that I tell him, I go, he didn't even give me any credit. I even say that to him. I said, Christopher, every once in a while, just give me a little credit when you steal some of my stuff. He goes, yeah, I know. I just, it's maybe not proper. Well, I said, hey, who cares? But we do talk a lot of football, and it's a lot of fun.
No doubt. I bet your conversations around the dinner table are extraordinary. I'd love to eavesdrop on some of those.
Well, Dave, people tell me as we do it, they've been around us a little bit, come over to our house, and my son Matt, who played in the NFL too, is now coaching quarterbacks everywhere. And people get around and they go, do you guys always just talk about football and sports? And I go, well, what else is there? So we're making a living doing it. So we love talking about it, and can't wait to talk about the Super Bowl.
Boy, the Simms family, a football life for sure. There's no question. All right, so this football team, the Cincinnati Bengals, as we all know, 2 years ago are 2-14.
Right.
And over the last two seasons, 6-25-1, and now they're on the doorstep of being Super Bowl 56 champions and taking the Lombardi Trophy home with them. 86-year-old Mike Brown may go to that podium and grab that Lombardi Trophy. Phil, what the heck? I mean, how about that turnaround? The greatest one in NFL history, arguably.
Well, you know what? 10-7 during a regular season. When have we seen a Super Bowl team get there and have a season like that or whatever? So, and I said to you just before we came on the air, they've ruined it for a lot of teams that are not winning, because every owner now thinks, well, we can turn this around, and let's go turn it right around. And they expect great things. But Dave, I think it says a lot about the NFL that, of course, the Bengals have the talent, and they got difference makers, and they're well coached, all those things. But it just goes to show you, if you do it right or whatever, there's a way to turn these things around quick. Now, yes, I know they got Joe Burrow, but I give Zach Taylor and that coaching staff a tremendous lot of credit for what they've done during these games.
It's interesting. You can tell that this team is close, in every way. The relationship between coaches and players, players to coaches, players to players, coaches to coaches, because the coaches give the players credit, the players give the coaches credit. I mean, it's like Zach Taylor will say, a big key to our success is the players took control of the locker room. It's like everything is self-policed. It doesn't have to come down from the coaching staff. Is that a key to success? The teams that you played on, they had the great success. You have a leader like Joe Burrow. You have a leader like Phil Simms at quarterback in the locker room, and everything is pretty much controlled by the players. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. And I think you know from all your playing days too. There's nothing like having a few guys on the team that are a voice of the team, good players, and natural-born leaders. And, that's what I see when I see the Bengals. When I look at what they did this offseason and some of the moves, and, of course, Joe Burrow, and I just go, what they really did is turn the football team over to Joe Burrow. He's capable of handling it. And I'm big in this. Quarterbacks, of course, can have a tremendous effect on games with their play. But they got to be able, in my opinion, they can't lose that one talent that really helps the team too that we can't see. And that's being the guy that can connect with the players, lead them, do it the right way. There's many ways to do it. Peyton Manning was on top of you, and Tom Brady did it in a whole different way. Like, he pat him, it's okay, this. So there's lots of ways to do it. But the quarterback's got to take, in my opinion, has to take advantage of that skill to really help the football team, and Joe Burrow's done that.
This team rebuilt the defense through free agency, got 7 starters, spent $125 million in consecutive off seasons on the defense and paid dividends. And then offensively through the draft. But the one common denominator, when I asked Zach, I said, what was the one characteristic that was non-negotiable when you were evaluating players in free agency and the draft? He said, they got to love football. Football has to be really important, because I know we've had teammates that are great players, but really don't care that much about the game of football. But the ones that are great and care about it, man, they're Hall of Famers like you.
Well, that's how you get in a Super Bowl. You have players with a lot of talent who love the game. I mean, and everybody out there probably listens to this and go, oh, come on, everybody. No, I played with many guys that were good players, but they didn't love football. It was just another way, not only, but they liked it enough to, it's make a living, but they weren't going to live and die with it. And I think that's really, especially when I find out about quarterbacks or evaluate them, I just go, are they, and this is a terrible statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. I hope it just makes a point. Are you willing to die on the field? And that's, of course, I don't mean that literally, but but I want that guy. And if you can find enough of those guys, and let me tell you, Lawrence Taylor was one of those guys to the extreme.
Yeah.
And he really was. So our best player in our team was emotionally, physically so involved, and he didn't care what happened in the game as long as we won. And that was really the cornerstone of our franchise. And, of course, Bill Parcells that led us to 2 Super Bowls.
When you look at it, too, you made mention of the fact that multiple guys, multiple voices in the locker room, multiple leaders, a lot of guys that the Bengals brought in free agency and the draft, captains of their high school team, captains of their college team. So it's like every position group has a guy or multiple guys that you can look to and say, I'm following him. I'm following him. He's doing it right. This guy's definitely doing it right. That's when you got something cooking, right?
No question. And it shows. I've made comments about the Bengals here late in the year. And, I think, of course, as the year went along, I started gaining admiration for what they were doing, the football team. But you can see the leadership just sitting on the sideline during a championship game. Not that I was out there the whole time, but how everybody was talking. And it was really, they were so, of course, it's a championship game. They were so into it. But you can tell the connection is real. And, what they do on both sides of the ball tells me, Dave, they're all in, because they're not like, oh, this is what we do and this is all we do, which we know a lot of teams do that. And they do a lot. I think it's complicated on both sides of the ball just to tell fans that. And they don't make mistakes. So that tells me about them, what kind of person they are. And it tells me they got some really good coaches getting it done too. Now, what they did, I don't want to get into it yet, but what they did against Kansas City for the second time in that second half was genius. And anybody that thinks, all I heard, don't give credit to the Bengals defense. Well, Patrick Mahomes. No, I said nothing about Patrick Mahomes. Give it to the defense. Give them credit what they did. And, man, they all must be smart, because they did a lot of damn different things. And I watched it on Monday morning. I couldn't wait to get up and watch it. I go, wow. How did they figure this? You expect somewhere they were doing a little bit of everything, which and somebody's got to blow an assignment, but that just wasn't the case.
Yeah, that's so true. And to beat Kansas City twice, Kansas City went 11-2 down the stretch. The only 2 losses to the Bengals, both
Right.
in January. They lose in the regular season. The Bengals clinch the AFC North by beating them, and they come from behind 14-0, 21-7, 28-14, and win that game by 3. Down 21-3 in the AFC Championship game, win that by 3 because of the second half excellence of the defense in both cases. They only score a field goal. The Chiefs, led by Patrick Mahomes, in both games,
Right.
6 points on 10 drives.
Wow.
They only get 2 field goals and 10 drives combined in the second half of those football games. And it was a different adjustment in each game by Lou Anarumo, but for him to do what he did, the 3-man, the 4-man deal, have Hubbard eye, and the matchup zone defense looked like man, looked like zone. It's a combination of both. It was incredible, man. It really was.
Dave, it was outstanding. I wish there would have been more towards that instead of all everybody knows in the business we're in and on TV, not everybody, but the vast majority, this is the quarterback. He just didn't do this. And, no. Hey, you played against guys, no matter what you did, you weren't going to win that battle for some reason. And the same with me when I played a great defense, because hey, it's them. I'm trying and we're doing the right stuff, but it's not working because of the skill and the scheme of what the other team is doing. So you got to give them a lot of credit, and it was just awesome. And I don't know what else to say. The Bengals have, like I said, they have set a standard in the NFL where owners probably are going to be less patient because they said, well, the Bengals did it. Why can't we? Well, because they hit home runs in free agency. They hit superstars in the draft, and they're well coached. That's how they did it.
No doubt about it. All right, let's talk Joe Burrow. You are a football savant, a football guru in terms of the quarterback position. You played it at the highest level. You know of what you see when you evaluate quarterbacks. What is it about Joe Burrow's play that impresses you the most, Phil?
Well, I'm going to be honest. Of course, I'm going to be honest. But I watched him his junior year some at LSU, and I went, well, I like this guy. Uh-huh. And, the numbers weren't big, and everybody, I read somebody had him, he'll be a 4th-round pick. And, I called his father and had a little talk with him. I said, man, I'd really like to work with your son. I can see a few things. We talked. He goes, oh, yeah, you're right. You understand, and I was like, man. And then the senior year came around, the new offense. And after about 3 games, I go, well, that's the end of that thought, because he's just tearing it up. So I know he's going to somebody with a big name or whatever. And it was disappointing, but in that respect, but I'm glad for him, of course. But I think a couple things have caught me by surprise with him. One, physical, there's no question. He's a big kid. I stood next to him out the championship game. He didn't see me, because I just wanted to size him up. And I go, damn, he's bigger than I thought in person. Yep. So it's the first time I've seen him. His legs, I think the rehab he did for that knee has changed his body. He's playing strong. Mm-hmm. This year, he's throwing the football with more power. The ball is rotating, spinning more, which tells me a lot too. And I don't know, do you notice the difference in him throwing the ball that's just got more impact than it did the year before?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh. And he changed in his stride. He changed the placement of his lead foot, where he has more surface on the ground to torque a little bit more. He just all he did was just change it and flatten it a little bit instead of pointing the toes. Put the and it made a big difference.
Yeah, all you got to do is look at all the throwers in the NFL, and if you watch their front foot, always put your toe to the target. No, that's you open up your hips, and now you lose all the leverage. I mean, that's probably one of the bad things that so many quarterbacks do. And when you do that, it really eliminates the drive of the football, whatever. But he really fixed it. He's torquing more, there's no doubt. But his personality, I watched him during the game too, no matter what the score was, what he did, or anything. He sits on the bench, really calm, shows no emotion. And he's just he's that silent assassin. He just walks out in the field and does his thing. And he's cool doing it. And he got not mad, but he kind of, early in the year, I made a comment. I said, look, he's a younger, more talented Joe Montana. So somebody said, hey, Phil Simms said, he got this look, he goes, all right, let's slow down a little there. and somebody brought it up to me on the show we do on Paramount. I said, yeah, how do you like me now? How's that comparison look to you now? But that's what he really is. He's got that demeanor, that gracefulness to him. And he does remind me a lot of Joe Montana, who was an extreme nemesis to me in my career.
Right.
We're good friends. Yeah, you too. Yes, I hear you. But we're good friends. And, I think I'm saying that I'm really complimenting both of those guys. And the thing is, he's bigger and stronger and throws it with more power than Joe Montana did. But a lot of ways to get it done.
So, I mean, the thing about Joe Burrow, and you mentioned you spoke to his dad, Jimmy, who was a great defensive coordinator, a lot of skins on the wall, great coach.
Right.
He played, had shot in the NFL, played in Canada, played professional football. 2 of his sons went to Nebraska, played linebacker at a high level.
Right.
And Joe is a football player. Joe's like, I'm a football player. I approach it, it's almost like he plays quarterback with a linebacker mentality. He does not shy away from contact. He's not flinch. He reminds me a lot of you in the fact that you guys get hit, you get up, you go to the sideline, you put your headset on, look at your computer. You don't cuss anybody out or anything. You are tough, physically, mentally tough football players that, I've seen great quarterbacks sack themselves after getting hit a couple of times. You guys, none of that stuff. You guys are tough-minded, tough guys that your teammates can rally around. A lot of similarities there, man.
Well, that's nice of you to say. Now, I wasn't – when I went to the sideline, I did curse a few people out. So I can and it was always the center. I would yell at my center for many years, Bart Oates, and I would just, Bart, and he goes, Phil, it's not my guy. I said, you don't understand. I don't care. Fix it. That's your job. You're the center, lead this team. But whatever, I look back and go, I don't know why one of them just didn't punch me. But yeah, what I was thinking about this as I was doing stuff and watching the games. He takes sacks. There's no doubt. The most sacked quarterback in the NFL and all this. But right. I don't know if that's a true barometer of many things. You got to be careful when you say those. He's willing to try to hang in there, the extra time to throw it. His movement is tremendous. And sometimes all that movement doesn't get him away from the sack. But the one thing I've noticed this year, I might go through all the sacks before the Super Bowl game, but he never really got wiped out, Dave.
Yep.
It's like he gets hit, but he knows how to protect himself too.
Yep.
And just watching TV this morning, I see some of the sacks. I go, that was nothing. They just dragged him down and he fell to the ground and no contact really because he was trying to slither. Man, he is slick in the pocket. He really is. And it's impressive to watch. But I think he's done a good job of protecting himself. And even though he takes those sacks and takes hits, and it's just another mark of how good he is in so many areas.
It's incredible your comment there about slick in the pocket, because you guys, you quarterbacks, you're incredible athletes. I mean, Joe Burrow in high school was an all-state point guard.
It's unbelievable, yeah.
So, and his best sport as youth was baseball. You guys can do anything and everything in sports. And his ability to slither, short space quickness, all that kind of stuff. I mean, a good example, Jones in the AFC Championship game has him around the shoulder pads, gets rid of him. Then he dives at his ankle, gets rid, then runs for a first down.
Big play.
He's a good athlete, man. He's just a good athlete.
I had this conversation with the head coach in the NFL. I'd love to tell you who his name is, but I won't, because he got burned. He got burned on a couple of draft picks at quarterback, and really when they got him there, they just don't throw it well enough to be whatever. And I said something to him. I said, I know your guy. He didn't play any of the sports beside football. He can't play golf. He can't shoot a basketball. And I got to be honest. Quarterbacks, if you can really throw, you can shoot, you can play ping pong, you can play pool, you can do anything. Hey, I was a really good baseball player. I could, of course, throw, but I could hit, and hit well. And I always thought I would be a pro baseball player instead of football. So, it's kind of, I look at that when I look at guys coming out in the draft. What other sports did they play?
Yep.
Were they really good in them? And like I said, 2 things. If a quarterback's 5 pounds overweight, he's off my board. Because, man, that tells me everything about you. How could you be overweight as a quarterback? That's just you're not part of my draft board or anything. But also just being an all-around athlete, I think, is really important, because you can't teach that skill of feel. You just know how to doctor and do anything. And no matter where you're at, what position you're in, you can still find a way to throw the football.
Okay, Phil. What did it take as the Super Bowl approaches here, Super Bowl 56? What is your advice to Joe Burrow, who all his career, the bigger the game, the bigger he's played?
Right.
High school championships, he's in a shootout. Both teams score over half 100. He puts up big numbers. They lose the game, but he puts up huge numbers.
Right.
LSU, he has the run in the college football playoffs, wins the Heisman, first pick of the draft. Now he's playing his best football as the playoffs formulate here. In the biggest game of your career, you played big. Couldn't have played bigger. Take us through what that preparation was like for that Super Bowl and how it unfolded for you, and what advice do you have for Joe?
Well, that's why I'm talking to you, because of that Super Bowl. That's changed my life, of course. And, just a general thought is that, I was ready to go down in flames. In other words, I'm going to play and, I'm going to play. I'm not going to worry about nothing. But the thing is, kind of like the Bengals, we went in a high note. Our offense was really clicking. We were throwing the ball down the field. We could run it. We could do anything. Yeah. If the run was stopped, we would throw it, vice versa. We weren't worried about either one getting stopped. So my confidence and our confidence was really high. Our practices were, practice is one thing, but I was a big believer in practice. And of course, our coach was a huge believer in practice.
Right.
But we practiced off the charts. It was scary. In fact, the Friday before the Super Bowl, we're on offense doing that last run through, and we're just lacing everything. And Bill actually got nervous. He's going, "Oh, okay, now Sims, let's don't leave it all on the field here." And we cut the practice short because I think he got so nervous about how it was going that we did this. Parcells would always say to me, "Hey Sims, let it go. Let's go today. Let it go. And don't be worried about it. It's not a game of perfection." That was his great line. It's not a game of perfection, and don't try to play it to be perfect. But again, I just was really into the game. I wish I could have done this more in my career, because sometimes I let outside things influence me. If there was a mistake early in the game, it would kind of upset me and I'd be more careful. I just wasn't going to let it happen in that Super Bowl. And, fortunately, it really worked out well. We stayed in rhythm for most of the game, and the game plan by Ron Earhart, our offensive coordinator, was tremendous, and his play calling was great too in that game.
You say that you caught fire at the right time as a football team. The Bengals are 8-3 in their last 11 games, including the playoffs. And that's what it's all about, right? It's all about playing your best football at the most opportune time of the season. And I mean, there's a lot of teams that are capable of winning a Super Bowl, but that's the secret sauce right there, is playing your best football down the stretch, isn't it?
Oh, man, you know what it is, Dave. And once you start getting in that rhythm, man, you can't wait to go to practice. You can't wait to go into a meeting. What's the game plan, all that. And it's a time in your life, when it's not going your well, it's such a struggle mentally and physically in meetings and practice. So when it's rolling, you keep that going, and you love what you're doing. And of course, the other thing is too, for us, which I think really worked out well, nothing was good enough for Bill Parcells. And, in other words, he would find a way to find conflict and negativity somewhere to put pressure on us every day.
Yeah.
We beat the 49ers 49-3 in the divisional round, 49-3. So we go into the meeting the next morning, and I'm thinking, this is going to be cool. I can't wait to watch the film. And he puts this thing down, and he looks out, and he goes, "Offensive line, by God," and he's just screaming and cursing. "Our quarterback could have got killed. We're lucky he's still here." And, I was like, oh my gosh. So what he did, he put that game behind us immediately. And our O-line was on notice the whole week. And of course, they played great in the championship game. We ran it over the Washington football team and all that. But that was Bill. He wanted to put you back on earth, because, too, as a player and as a commentator, sometimes you win a few in a row, you get a little cocky and you don't pay attention to certain things.
Right.
Right. We never had to worry about that with the big guy, because he was always in your ear. So,
no doubt.
But Dave, I kind of believe in that way of coaching. You got to be able to bring players down, but also, a certain time when you look at them and judge them, that you got to bring them up too. You got to pat them on the back every once in a while, just to make them feel a little more comfortable and good about themselves. And that's amazing what it can do for you when you play the game.
You made a great point, Phil, about how the practices are at another level, as you're getting ready for these big games. And Brian Callahan mentioned that. I did a podcast with him earlier this week, and he said, the thing is, practices have been so dynamic, so crisp, and the team has learned how well they can practice. And that's something that's going to carry over, hopefully, not just to the Super Bowl, but it's like, look, this is how well you can do and how hard you can go. Don't save it for just the Super Bowl. Let's try to hit this hit this barrier and surpass it. That's a big lesson, isn't it? I mean, learning how to practice like that is a big deal, right?
Sure, Dave. What they're doing is they're resetting the standard.
Yeah,
and that's what they're doing, and it's now the coaches see it too, and they're going to reset their standards and coach differently or whatever. I think it's awesome. All the years I did games, I did like 90 Patriot games, and Julian Edelman, who now works with me on one of the shows, listen to him, I just laugh. Every practice, I don't think I ever went to one of their practices that was not really good. Some were off the charts great. Some was okay, maybe not the perfect, but their practices were they were so into it. They were able to focus, and they taught the team to do that. The players taught themselves to, but it's just exactly what you're telling me, how it's going. Now the players see it, the coaches see it, and that will be the standard for quite a long time, I think, with the Bengals. Young players, eager players. I don't see anybody speaking out, worrying about their catches or this. It's really look, the margin of error is so slim with all teams now to go to the Super Bowl or not even get to the playoffs. It's so slim because there's so much talent. It's spread out that they're finding another way to separate themselves from the rest of the football teams.
So we talked about obviously Joe Burrow. He's the straw that stirs the drink. But when you look at the Bengals on tape, Phil, give me a couple or three guys that boy, this guy's unique in his own right.
Well, there's I don't even know where to start there. I always like Joe Mixon because he's tough.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, I've been a fan of his ever since he was at Pitt. I was like, man, I like this guy. And I think early in his career, it just didn't hit. And I think did he get nicked up a little early? I'm not sure. Yeah, but all of a sudden, people talk about it and go, gosh, that's the guy you thought he would be. And just go through it. And T. Higgins, I liked him coming out of Clemson. I wasn't sure. I've seen that body type, that long guy not work as the way it should. But I was standing right there. Joe Burrow threw the ball right at me in that championship game when they made that drive to kick the game-winning field goal. And T. Higgins, like Spider-Man, just ripped it out of the air. Right. And yeah, so they got the true receiving group that you want. A little bit of everything. The tall guy.
What about
Jamar? Oh, yeah. How can I leave him out? I've talked about him so much this year, but he's one. He's all in one. He's all in one. He's strong. He's physical. He can outrun anybody. He loves football. Great connection with the quarterback. And it sounds like, and just watching him, everything, a great teammate.
Yep.
So what a pick by the Bengals. They didn't go to the pressure or fall into that trap. Well, we need a tackle. We need a tackle. Let's go get – no, take the best player, and that was Jamar Chase. And I got to be honest, with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they're better pros than even I thought they would turn out to be. And, they really are. It's just seeing Jamar. I did a highlight package of him before the championship game with Jamar Chase. And as I was watching all the games and his catches, I go, oh, my gosh, this guy is even more special than I thought. When he just touches the defensive back because they're so worried about his speed, which we've seen many times, when he just gives them a little nudge, I'm not going to say he pushes off, just nudges them, they go flying.
Yeah, they fall to the ground. It's unreal.
It's unreal.
It is.
So that's really cool. And that's what every coach in the league and every owner, they want their quarterback to be Joe Burrow, and they want the receiving core the Bengals have. It's the best receiving core, I think, in the NFL.
I agree with you. All right.
On the defensive side, I don't even know where to begin, Dave. Trey Hendrickson, ball of energy, love it. I was a big fan of his down in New Orleans. Yep. They can't keep everybody down there because they had like 9 defensive linemen that could play. Right. And the secondary, I'll just put them all in one. I think they're smart. They work extremely well together. And the key, the glue, of course, is the safeties. Bell and Bates, they do a great job back there. Logan Wilson's been a surprise to me. And, of course, I love the interior guys too. So Hubbard, gosh, being on the field, watching him run around, I was like, man, film doesn't do him justice.
Yeah.
He's a little more athletic than I thought. And did he get the sack on Mahomes at one time at the end of the game? It was him, right?
He got back-to-back sacks, consecutive snaps on Mahomes down the stretch there. Yep.
When he dropped back, and I don't know why, I could see him, and then he saw that gap, and he went through that thing.
Yep.
You'd think he was a damn running back. And he flew there, and Mahomes, who I think was a little gassed, had no chance of getting away from him. So that was
he was spying Mahomes, and then he timed it up and just downhill he came. Yeah, initially he was a great safety at Moeller High School here in Cincinnati, their program. And he had a lacrosse scholarship to Notre Dame. So you talk about athleticism. He had a lacrosse scholarship initially and then decommitted from Notre Dame when all Ohio State and all the schools started recruiting him for football because he got bigger, moved to linebacker, bigger yet, moved to the defensive line. You're right, Phil. This dude's an athlete. That TV doesn't do him justice. You're exactly right. You're right.
You know what? See, that's what you look for. I love guys like that. I love interior defensive linemen that were wrestlers in high school or whatever. I love that. But, just the same – you talk, and it goes to all positions. But, two, we talked about Joe Burrow, all that he could do as an athlete, and Sam Hubbard the same. Now really getting to see him in person and watching, I go, yep, now I understand. I really do. It really shows when you watch those guys in person. And, of course, the other thing, Dave, I got to laugh at, I watched the introductions, and here comes the lineman, and I'm like, God, look how big they are. And then here comes the skill people. It was like watching a pack of deer come out. Boing, boing, boing. And they were literally they were jumping as they ran. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I forget what it's like to be young. And then you realize how old you are. And I was standing next to Nate Burleson, and I turned to him. I go, they're bopping out there like they're deer, the way they bounce. He goes, yeah, man, it's a series of jumps. And it's awesome to be on the field every once in a while. Now I understand even more, which I've been on the field over the years for different things, why coaches have a hard time getting out of the game, because the feeling down there game day, and as you know very well, it's extremely special.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, let me ask you this one, Phil. In your opinion, who has more pressure, Taylor, Burrow, or the Rams combination of McVay and Stafford?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I think we all perceive it to be Stafford and Sean McVay, no question.
Yep.
And Stafford's he has shut a few people up with his performances so far in the playoffs. I've always been a big fan of his, and I'm gonna be sarcastic. This is what I say to people. I said, I remember when Stafford was in Detroit, and many times in the preseason, I looked at the roster, so damn, this is a Super Bowl roster right here. They're gonna do it all. And yeah, does that just say it all? I mean, come on. Well, you had no success in Detroit. Hey, they got in the playoffs when they did because of him.
Right.
It was unbelievable at the end of games. Unbelievable. But he's got to win this, and I get in arguments with people. And there was a time this year I worried. I said, wow, I've been picking up for him for many years. And, man, he had that little stretch. He started out like he was going to be the MVP. But he's really come through. Their offense is a high degree of difficulty, I think, for a quarterback, because there's a lot of tough throws, and he is not faint of heart, Dave. He will throw it into tight coverage. Yep. He trusts his arm. He's extremely accurate. But, yeah, just to pick a team, I think the pressure is definitely on those two.
Let me get you out of here on this, Phil, and appreciate you giving us the time you give us. And, man, you're outstanding. I could talk football with you for hours. And final thought on – how do you see this Super Bowl unfolding? What do you think are the big things that you're going to watch to determine the outcome of the football game? Where are the Phil Simms key matchups in your mind?
Well, it's easy. I think everybody, and even if you don't follow football, you want to know, can the Bengals offensive line hang in there? Listen, this is the best pass rushing unit in the NFL when you talk about the Rams. It's not even close, really. Maybe the 49ers are right there with them somewhat. If they wouldn't have had injuries, they probably would have been every bit of equal, maybe better. But that pass rush is real. And so we know that the Rams are not going to play the Bengals like they played the 49ers either. They're not going to crowd the line of scrimmage, anything like that. So, but the Bengals, how are they going to protect? I would expect to see something a little different this week. Will the tight end do more? Will the running back stay in a little more? Stuff like that. And because you're going to, you got to give them credit over on that defensive side. So that's interesting. I think if he gets protected, Joe Burrow will have a lot of easy completions. And I think it'll be really, I think their scheme holds up against any defense, no matter what they play. I think everybody, well, I know this for a fact, talking to coaches, everybody is scared of the Bengals wide receiver group. And I don't think the Rams will be any different. Jalen Ramsey's not going to match up with Jamar Chase all over the field. He will a little bit here and there.
Right.
There's no way, Dave. He's not going to line up against him one-on-one. Jalen Ramsey may be the best corner in football. You line up one-on-one every play of the game, I tell you, you're going to lose that battle. So, and then, on the defensive side, I'm really interested to see what Cincinnati does there too. One, can the Bengals run the ball just enough to keep everything honest and all that? That's another little key factor, which we all know. But I'm really interested to see what, after seeing last week and watching the Bengals basically all year, pretty close, I can't wait to see what they draw up on the defensive side. Take away Cooper Kupp. Easy to say, hard to do, but there's many ways to do it. But if you take him away, now you make their offense play different because so many things are designed for him. And he is really slick. And nobody's going to cover him one-on-one either. So a little bit, where's the help coming from? That's if they take him away, then we'll see what the Rams, who the second guy is, if he can live up to what he has to do. So just a thumbnail sketch, but I think it's really, really a lot of interesting matchups in the game. I think I'm not going to, just because I'm in your podcast, I think the Rams are the more talented team. Yep. They got those stars, but we're talking about one game, a game plan, catch them by surprise, the moment. The Super Bowl is big. Many guys, many players, I can name them, and they've talked about it. Panic because of the bigness of the game. And I don't think either one of these teams will, but that's always possible. So I don't know. I hope I gave you a little idea of what I expect, but I expect a different protection scheme from the Bengals this week. To sit up there and line up, this D-line is not even the same world as Kansas City's. It's much better than that. Right. So what they do, I can't wait to see that in the game.
Yeah, to me, I was talking about it a little bit earlier today. I think if you have to go 6-man protection, do it. If you have to go 7, do it. And what I would do is they're alternating the right guard, Adeniji and Jackson Carman. Right. And I would take Jackson Carman and make him a 6th lineman and let him be the 6th guy. They're both playing. It's not like he hasn't had some NFL snaps. Why not let them? So now you can slide and still have linemen involved, on the backside handling some situations. And I would empty the bucket. I would do anything I have to do to get Joe Burrow protected, give him time and space. As you know, Phil, if you can't see the field, man, you got to give him space. You got to give him something to look at.
Well, really well said. And that is that's what I really expect. And, listen, he knows how to get the football out of his hand. They have enough short routes and little tricks, delays, block and release, all that. They got every play in the book in their offense.
Yep.
So getting rid of the football early, and you can do this against the Rams. The Rams don't like to get up and get in your face. They play, everybody said the shell. That's what they really want to do. And why do they do that? Because they know that defensive line, if you make it a 10 or 12 play drive, sooner or later, they're going to get to the quarterback maybe one time. And that's what they kind of count on. They don't want to play pressurized defense. And when they do, it's kind of a surprise. So they catch a lot of teams off guard because they do this, and all of a sudden, boom, they hit you with something. But big key point, can't wait to watch it and see what the Bengals do and see how the Rams, if Joe Burrow starts picking them apart, which he could do.
Yep.
If you told me he throws for 400 yards, I go, I can see that, believe it or not. I can see him. Their passing offense is light years, of course, ahead of the San Francisco 49ers and what the Rams saw 2 weeks ago. So I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to be home in my family room with only the people that want to watch football and no talking allowed. When the commercial comes up, you can talk, Dave.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, Phil. And I'll tell you, I got sold on Joe Burrow as a former lineman, watching him in Tennessee, the number 1 seed. Bengals have to go to Tennessee to knock the Titans off. He gets sacked really 11 times. 9 of them counted. One of them was eliminated by a timeout, and the other one by a penalty. But he got hit and taken to the ground 11 times, and he throws for 348 yards in so doing. I'm like, that's my guy. I'm all in on this dude, man.
Dave, it was great. That was great. You know what he was? He understood the game, the big picture, that he didn't have to take chances. So when in doubt, he took the sack. And people, the sacks, hey, it was smart. He didn't turn the football over. And, that was a 9-sack game, and it was still really impressive. And also, too, all those sacks, I remember watching it. Of course, I watched that game on TV and then on film. But he might have got hit once or twice hard, but the rest of the time they were just kind of fall downs.
Yep.
Which just a great job of protecting himself.
Phil Simms, you are a football savant, like I thought. You're a football genius.
I'm not going to comment on that. Don't talk to teachers.
and all I can say is your comment about, like the great Bill Belichick did, make them play left-handed. How are those defenses going to make the Rams offense and the Bengals offense, led by two really, really good quarterbacks? I think it's only the second time the first pick in the draft quarterbacks are going head-to-head, right?
Yes, that's right. Well, I not because I'm with you and you work with the Bengals and all that, but you can make the Rams play left-handed. I don't really think you can make the Bengals play left-handed because they're not dominant with one hand. They don't care. I thought T. Higgins in the middle of the year was the best receiver on the team.
Yeah.
Okay, because he was lighting it up. And so I don't think you can make the Bengals play left-handed. So that's just another little chip on their side, I think. If they take away Jamar Chase, they'll find another way to get it done. Bingo,
bango, bongo. That's Phil Simms. That's why he's so great. Appreciate you, sir.
Dave, always great talking to you. I miss the times when I do bingo games, we'd have some nice talks and just
absolutely.
Man, you're right. I think we could sit down. I'd love to have you sit at a barbecue with me and my kids and stuff. Oh my gosh, you would walk away and go, "All right, I give up. I've had enough."
I'm telling you, I love it though. I would love to watch a football game live with you and Chris. Just sit there. And watch me. Oh my gosh, man, that would be.
We tear it up. We tear it up when we do it live.
Heaven, baby.
Oh, it's great. Well, listen, you're the man, and your dedication to the game and, of course, to the organization, all that is great. And, I think the world of you, and you do a great job. I gave you a call because I heard your call there at the end of the game and a couple of things. Man, I got to call Big Dave, and I called you. So I'm really honored to be on your show today, here today.
Honored. Oh, my gosh. I'm more than honored. You are. You are football to me, my man. Thank you, Phil.
Well, thank you. Dave, my pleasure. Anytime.
Have a great one.
All right, I will. You too.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Brakes? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Got to get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.